And we begin tonight with this question. Should social media companies be held liable for content on their platforms, specifically when that content motivates heinous acts like the Tops mass shooting that happened here in Buffalo less than 2 years ago? It is alleged that the shooter was radicalized by fringe social media networks, including 4chan, which is an anonymous online discussion board popular with white nationalists. This week, Erie County Supreme Court Justice Paula Fairletto denied 4chan's motion to dismiss it from a wrongful death lawsuit filed by family members of several of the victims. 4chan is accused of radicalizing the Tops shooter, who live streamed his racially motivated attack as he killed 10 black people. 4chan tried to get the case dismissed based on jurisdiction, but the judge wrote in this ruling 4chan chose to do business in New York. Live stream of the mass shooting was posted on the 4chan platform from New York. The assailant, a resident of New York, interacted repeatedly with 4chan. It has been alleged that the conduct of 4chan in providing content to the shooter radicalized him. Joining us live here tonight to help put this decision into perspective is attorney Kristen Elmore Garcia, whose law firm represents these victims' families. Thanks for coming in. It's good to see you.
Good evening, Michael. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we talk about jurisdiction here. I know that there are several defendants in this case, right? 4chan was trying to say this doesn't apply to us based on jurisdiction. What does that mean, and how significant is what happened this week?
Jurisdiction is an entry-level question to any lawsuit. In order for you to have a lawsuit of any kind, to be heard in any court, the court has to have jurisdiction over that entity. In this case, 4chan alleged an argument that amounted to they felt like they were an enigma. They don't exist anywhere. They are the internet. They're not in New York. They're not in your backyard, in your cell phone, on your nightstand when you go to bed at night. They said we don't exist in New York, therefore the courts of New York State should not have jurisdiction over us. Obviously, Judge Fairletto was not won over by that argument. She said that they had sufficient business contacts in the state of New York and that they conducted enough business, and most importantly that the essential harm and the acts leading up to the harm took place here. Therefore, jurisdiction is appropriate here.
So you obviously have to pass that hurdle for the case to continue. That has now happened. Tell me why it's important to your clients and perhaps maybe to everyone harmed by what happened here on 5/14 to not just hold the shooter accountable. He's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. He may be put to death one day depending on what happens federally. But in terms of holding the social media companies liable for their role.
Well, you said it perfectly yourself. The person who actually carried out the act of shooting is in jail. That person can't harm any of us, physically at least. But there are any number of entities that have responsibility leading up to this and have been implicated in other extremist activities, extremist violent actions that take place across our country, and most importantly right here at home. So it's important that we hold those entities accountable. The shooter himself states in his own online writings that many of his ideas came from 4chan, and if 4chan is operating in this dangerous space and has a dangerous product, then we should do whatever is in our power to make sure that they can't operate in that dangerous way anymore.
I know that there are several of these civil lawsuits that are pending against social media companies. These could have significance well beyond just what happened here in Buffalo, right? Is the goal here to get these social media companies to take more responsibility for the content on their sites? Absolutely.
Now, this lawsuit is the first lawsuit of its kind to hold social media companies accountable for a mass shooting. But we're not the only plaintiffs or similarly situated people trying to hold social media companies accountable for actions such as these. After we filed this lawsuit, multiple states' attorney generals, including our own New York State Attorney General, filed lawsuits against social medias for similar legal theories that we have. And even the Buffalo Public School District just recently joined a class action for misconduct taking place on social media, causing real-life harmful effects of school children and their mental health.
So now that 4chan is staying in this case, right, what happens going forward? What is sort of a timeline and how this case is going to play out against, we should mention, 4chan, but also what are some of the other social media companies?
Well, I've brought the judge's decision in order right here, so I'll read for you some of the other companies we have. Meta Platforms, which is parent company both Facebook and Instagram. Google, or Alphabet, which is parent company to Google, and YouTube, Discord Inc., which is a chat server website, Reddit Inc., which is another popular online forum, very similar to 4chan, and a couple of gun industry corporations. Many of these companies filed motions to dismiss. We've already gotten one positive ruling denying a motion to dismiss at the beginning of February against the company Mean Arms LLC, which developed a gun locking mechanism, or a gun magazine locking mechanism. This would be our second order from the judge denying motions to dismiss. We're still waiting on one much larger opinion concerning some of the more substantive, meaty legal issues from the judge that's going to concern all of those social media companies combined. We anticipate that ruling should come out shortly. But I would like to let you know, your intro, you stated that these were fringe websites. These are not fringe websites, and I think it's important for people to know that these ideas are coming into the mainstream, and it's the social media companies' misconduct that's allowing these ideas with their product design for these ideas to become more mainstream and become a daily threat.
Absolutely. We'll be following it closely. Attorney Kristen Elmore Garcia, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.